Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Adrian, and I'm here with my friend Brantman19.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And we're bringing you something new on the channel today. We're going to be starting up a podcast, and the podcast name is Eat, Sleep, Game, and Repeat. The most ideal 4 actions of any gamer's life or fantasy.
I know, it was amazing how easy that came to us, was it not? Like, just out of nowhere, just...
To be fair, the idea was yours.
No, true. I mean, I'm trying to give you a little bit of credit here, but I didn't want to take all of it.
It had a good jingle to it, so I liked it, you know. So this is going to be a weekly podcast on Sundays at live streamed on Twitch, both of our Twitch channels, at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. for me, Pacific Time. This first video we're just doing a recording of, just because we wanted to get kind of a feel for it, see how it is, and, you know, barring anything getting in our way on Sunday evenings, we would like to have a video released every Monday for you guys, you know, so you'll see it on my channel. Brand, I don't know if you want to upload it on your channel or not, or whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah, this will be up on my channel as well. So
all right, cool.
Cross-platform or
all right
on that right there. But and I guess basically just to kind of go over a little bit about what this whole thing's about. It's really just talking about gaming news, tech news, anything that really just kind of piques the interest, I guess, of myself or Adrian. Just kind of in the world of, I mean, hate to say it, but kind of the world of everything nerdy. So
yeah, absolutely.
And I think today's episode is really going to hit on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we got a lot planned for you guys. Yeah, we
do. So all right, let's go ahead and just jump on into it. Adrian, you ready to go, man?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right, good deal. Well, I mean, I think the biggest news is just the other day that, you know, basically that Imperator Rome really kind of, the embargo hit, and we've all been kind of releasing a ton of videos on this recently. And I mean, just to kind of start us off on it, I mean, I gotta say, there's been a ton of content out. I mean, I think you released, how many did you release on day one? 3-4 videos, man?
So, actually, the 4th episode, just today, just released right now, like as we speak. It just came out. And then I released one edited video as well. That was early this morning.
Gotcha. I mean, so
5 videos in one day.
Good Lord, man. I can't even imagine 5 in a day. I have enough hard times with just 3 normal ones, but I mean, you can really tell people have been waiting for this game. I mean, it's been, I think, when did they announce, what, October, November of last year, that they had like a name for it and everything? And
when was that? Yeah, I think it was October when they actually said, like, okay, like, we have something for you, you know?
Yeah, I know it was like into 3rd, early 4th quarter of last year. Yeah. And I mean, there have been some rumors that was going to be kind of like probably prior to CK2. I think we all kind of had an idea, even though a lot of us probably about a year ago was really hoping for a Victoria 3, which I don't know if that'll ever come at this moment.
I know.
But, I think waiting for that's just too
it's too unbearable. Half-Life 3. Hashtag Half-Life 3.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, you know, anyways, I mean, I've played quite a bit of it. I think as of this moment, I've recorded only like 7 episodes myself, just because, you know, anybody who's really recognizes me and what I do, I kind of try to release 1 a day. I don't like to overload people. Adrian, by the way, Adrian's sitting there going through it multiple different ways. You probably learned a heck of a lot about the game. Anything you kind of want to share with us? You know, since you obviously have the more amount of time in it than I do.
Yeah. So I would say what's interesting about the game is it's more hands-on than I was expecting. So, you know, to min-max and to play efficiently, there's a lot of moving parts in the game, and to really play efficiently and really to min-max, there's a lot of details that you have to take a look at in the game. It's not as indirect as, say, something like Victoria 2. And it's funny because that's kind of what I was expecting. Like, oh, you know, like, these people have their own cultures and religions, and they'll move around and that sort of thing, and they have different classes they'll promote up and down to. And it's like, no, actually, like, in order for these pops to have their own lives, you know, you really have to kind of interact with them. And it was kind of interesting, you know, having that experience. EU4, I would say, is much more like omniscient and indirect. Like, you know, you move these troops here, you move those boats there, and your country just kind of, you know, it's what you do. Or like even the idea of development, you know, like you just click a button and it increases the development, or you go and conquer something, you know.
Right.
It's very like indirect. But like really to get anything done in Imperator Realm, there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of things. A lot of the game systems, the way they work with each other, it's a lot of hands-on, you know, minute details, and it kind of surprised me. It's interesting, but also was not exactly what I was expecting. Yeah.
Right. And before anybody goes off spouting that we're reviewing the game, I mean, we're just these are just our impressions of it. I mean, this is not a review in any way, shape, or form. I think Adrian, you're going to release one here in a few days.
Yep.
Because technically we're not allowed to release reviews, and we'll get into that in a minute. But as for me, I kind of went in there hoping it was going to be a lot like EU4. I really wanted that just because I'm so familiar with EU4, and then I had seen some of the Dev Clash stuff, and it seemed like notice in the Dev Clash is like this seems to be like a super well-rounded, like they took the best of Paradox and they tried to, you know, mold it and mash it into one game.
Yep.
And from what I'm seeing, they've really done that so far. You know, not a review, you know, TM, but I kind of feel like this is a very completed game. I don't feel like I'm playing a game that they have to patch at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, that's very limited gameplay. One nation I played as, which is Egypt, which is already released, but I kind of feel like I don't have to, you know, I don't have to have DLC right now. I don't need a patch to make the game playable. There is, you know, that learning curve there because I mean, you're pretty much playing like I've been thinking. It's like EU4. It's got EU4 as kind of like a base with CK2 thrown in there. You know, some HOI4, and from what I've heard, some Stellaris too, with how the you know, how the tech system works.
Yep.
And for me, as somebody who's only really played EU4 and a little bit of HOI4, not even enough to really consider myself like a novice, you know, I'm not even familiar with that game. But from what I can feel, I feel like I'm kind of playing the best, at least of both of those worlds at the moment. You know, just taking a nation, you're not just taking select provinces like you would in EU4, and I think CK2 was like that too. I mean, you're taking entire states still, which makes things much easier on you because you don't have to plan, you know, get down to the
Every
nitty-gritty
little nitty-gritty detail, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't. And I mean, so far, I mean, I have not had because of where I'm playing in Egypt, I cannot create border gore, but I'm sure it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, the border gore that I've seen has been big nations breaking up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you seen that yet, Adrian?
No, absolutely. The separatist movements and you know, these wars that are declared, but usually separatist movements. I mean, they come on, you know, hard and strong. It's sometimes really surprising to see these large, you know, powerful empires that you're like afraid of. They break up and they have these civil wars and stuff. And you're like, damn, like that's kind of interesting to see. You know, it's a breath of fresh air, you know, when you have these very large and very stable empires on like EU4 that, you know, they might have some rebels and stuff, but they usually never break up because of separatist movements and you know, pretenders fighting for the throne and stuff. You know, it's a breath of fresh air that in Imperator Rome, you really have to worry a lot more about that sort of thing happening. Your governors, you know, your monarchs and that sort of thing, you know, your brothers, your cousins and stuff that want to take your throne. It's a way bigger problem. And it's really a breath of fresh air. It definitely smells like CK2, but at the same time, there's a lot of complexity in CK2 that it's actually not, you know, it's not bringing onto the table. Depending on how much you like CK2, you might find that favorable or unfavorable, I would say.
Yeah. And you know, it's kind of like it's in a good way. It's got enough content and enough things going on that it's just barely difficult to make you want to keep playing more to understand it.
Yep.
It's that I can't. It's hard to explain. It's that nice little middle gray area. Because if you never played EU4 before, or you had no clue what you're doing, and they threw you in the to say you know. They threw you in the deep end and you have to go play as like Byzantium or something. You're going to pretty much fail immediately and you're going to wonder what happened and not have any clue. You're not even going to learn that way. You know, at the same time, that doesn't feel like they're starting you off as say, you know, I think everybody's kind of familiar with EU4 at this point. So that's why I'm using EU4. I mean, I have no clue what the equivalent in CK2 is. HOF4, I guess, would be like Germany or something. Germany and the Ottomans are kind of the same thing as far as how they play easier nations. But, you know, it's almost like, you know, it's not as bad as, say, the Ottomans, though, either, where, you know, it's so easy. You're not learning anything just because you're just raffle stomping everybody in front of you. It just doesn't happen that way. There's too much in the game for that to happen. You get to actually learn as you go. Depending on who you pick. Now, I mean, if you probably pick some little one province miner up in Gaul, you're probably, I have no clue how those guys are doing. There's people out there streaming it. I have no clue what they're doing, and I hope they're having success. I really do.
No, absolutely, and it's actually, it's one of the things that I appreciate about the game as well. Is like, for example, Shenrir in the Dev Clash, or not in the Dev Clash, in the multiplayer campaign that they had online on Twitch. I don't know if you viewers at home saw a lot of it, but you know, Shenrir played as Armenia. I'm doing a campaign on Armenia myself, and it's a large and fairly powerful country, but he was defeated pretty early on. He was defeated, you know, like kind of like in the early-ish, middle-ish stage of the game, and he kind of got mad. I think anybody would, and it just kind of proved, like, you know, no matter how large you are, your population, like, there are things that you need to, you know, watch out for. You know, wars and separatism and all sorts of stuff like that. And like you said, it depending on the country, you know, you don't feel like the Ottomans in EU4. You're not just this raffle stomping power, you know. But at the same time, it's like you're not this Byzantium in EU4, or like, you know, some you know, like Cyprus in EU4, you know, where everything is just impossible and you don't understand, you know, you don't have any chance and you don't understand why things happen sometimes, you know. It's you know, if somebody was to say, you know, Imperator Rome is a mix of Stellaris, EU4, like CK2, and maybe a little bit of Hearts of Iron 4, I would say that's an accurate description, you know, in both difficulty, you know, learning curve, experience. It's a beautiful thing, I think. It's actually a very beautiful thing. Difficult to pull off, I think.
Right. I think so, too. I mean, when you take the best of your, you know, your I'm trying to think of the word for it. I guess taking the best of your category of games.
Yep.
And I guess it's kind of like, it's almost like Paradox went in there, went into Steam and looked at all the comments and saw what was good and what was bad about all of their games. And they said, this is what we're going to do. You know, I'm surprised at the level of detail that got put in there. And I mean, to what seems like it's like they almost were sat there, and one of their first things they wrote down was, maybe because you got to imagine they were developing this at the exact same time as a huge DLC, you know, rate hike hit 2 years ago.
Yep.
And you know, that was probably number one on their list was, let's release as finished of a game as we can now, to where people will want to pay us more, not because they have to access better parts of the game, but to, you know, just because they'll want more. They'll want more out of the game,
or they want to tell a new story. Yeah, they want to tell a new story. They want more. You know, and it surprised me exactly how much all the game systems work together. You know, how polished it is, because, you know, everybody knows when CK2, when Victoria 2, you know, when Europa Universalis IV were first released. I mean, there were major complaints about some of those game systems and major imbalances that took, for some people, years to kind of solve and to kind of figure out. But I think Imperator Rome in the way the systems work, you can tell they've thought about, you know, what systems they added into the game, what systems they kind of withheld from, what systems they tweaked, and it's interesting, to say the least. You know,
right? You know, and I mean, we can keep heaping praise on the game. We're both probably what, a respective 5, 6, 7 episodes into our campaigns as the max we've kind of recorded at this point. You know, there might be some glaring problem out there that we haven't seen yet. I mean, I can go and tell you right now, I'm seeing this in my campaign. So spoiler alert on mine, when you get to about, you know, episode 6 or 7, just out of nowhere, Phrygia decides to just crumble to pieces. I'm going to tell you, if that's me, I'm going to rage quit in a heartbeat. Okay. Like that is going to kill me.
Yep.
But you know what? It tells you, though, that you've got to go in there and you focus on these things that, you know, you can kind of get away with rebels in EU4 for a time. You know, you've got time to deal with these things. You know, I can take 3 years, go beat up on my other enemy, you know, as long, and then come back and deal with the rebels. I feel like you don't have that time in
Yep.
Imperator Rome. You have to sit there and almost, you know, even if you're fighting an active war with your neighbor, you kind of have to come back. You
Yep.
got to be like, you know what? I got to leave my enemy over here to go take care of the home front now.
Yep.
Because if I don't, I'm going to end up split in two. And
Yep. And I appreciate that contrast. You know, it
yeah,
it has a sense of ingenuity to it.
It's got a sense of realism to it.
I think so.
Think,
I think E4 could appreciate from, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you been sitting there in EU4 or another Paradox game, and you're fighting your main enemy, and your rebels are just taking care of your land behind you? And I mean, in some cases, you'll be fighting an enemy, and you want the rebels to spawn because they'll be a bottleneck for the enemy to hit. I mean, you want the enemy to take care of that for you. You know, now it's kind of like you can't afford that. I feel like you just can't afford that anymore in this game. So maybe we'll find out something new where that's not the case. But for now, I kind of feel like rebels, and then you take care of the rest of everything else. So
it's a breath of fresh air for sure. As far as like game mechanics are concerned.
Yeah, definitely.
It's something new, I think, and it's something that's hard to pull off. And I think Imperator Rome does it well. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I guess this is kind of turned into like a pseudo review. We kind of kept just expanding and expanding and expanding, which kind of we weren't supposed to do. But
hey, I'm not telling you guys to buy it. I'm not telling you guys to not buy it.
Yeah. Let's make that clear. Not telling you to buy it, not telling you not to buy it. Just telling you what we think. So before we get too much further into it, I think they did release some dev diary stuff, and it was really all on just scripting. And Adrian, this is more of your thing because you do this modding stuff, don't you? Is that correct?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not, as familiar with like say Imperator Rome modding, but I mean, I made mods for EU4, so the idea of scripts and stuff, I understand that a little bit. And from what I read about the Imperator Rome dev diary, it's just there's a lot more variables that can be called, a lot more. Just a lot more complexity and scripts and events and stuff that you can call that just makes the game more dynamic, more interesting. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm
sure modders
I know very little. I know very little about modding. So, I mean, I understand like the variables, understand that kind of stuff.
The modders will go crazy.
The one thing I could take, this tells you about as much as I took from that dev diary. They had a final image in there, and it kind of showed you like what happens at the end of your game, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it actually was kind of like it would tell you how they think you stacked up in the game. By the way, this is all I could get from that dev diary. It just was kind of like saying, okay, you were Bactria, and you did, you finished as a small regional power. You're really going to go down in history as just about nothing. I was just like, that's really interesting. I would really love to know like what happens at what the levels are and what the message is. I'd love to know, if I'm Egypt and take over all of Northern Africa, like you're going to go down in history as a major power, but eventually you'll split apart and die. I'm kind of hoping it's like got some morbid messages in there, just for the how the humor of the game. It is a Paradox thing to do. So
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, anyways, I guess we'll keep on the spirit of these dev diaries, and EU4 had a little bit more this week. A little bit more of their dev diary that I kind of appreciated some of the stuff they did, and I could really kind of break it into 4 different things. So, Adrian, we'll just talk about each one as I bring it up. And sure. I think the main meat and potatoes of it was really these code updates that they were talking about. They were, I can't even remember who put out the dev diary this week, but it was kind of I think it was one of their programmers, and he was kind of talking about how, some of the code that they've been using in EU4 has been really old. I mean, stuff that they even pulled over from, EU3. I mean, like that tells you they've been working on this game since 2010, and they've got that old of code in there, and they've been updating it over time. So, I mean, I can understand that. I can understand you want to build on your foundation, and I'm not a programmer, but I understand it enough to see what they're saying here. I just, I I kind of want to get your thoughts on that a little bit. What are you thinking about, how they're cleaning up the code and things like that?
No, I think it's honestly, I think it's sorely needed. EU4, just in comparison to modern games, I know EU4 came out in 2013. The thing is when it comes to performance, when it comes to how fast things can happen and autosaves and all sorts of stuff, you feel, you're like, damn, this is an aged game, and I'm glad that with the code updates, game performance updates, and I'm glad that they're kind of modernizing it a little bit. I really appreciate it. It's going to take a lot of work, which is why this big patch, this big update that's going to make EU4 run faster and that sort of thing. I mean, it's not expected until the end of this year. We're talking almost a whole year without DLC. A whole year without new content and stuff. But I can understand why they're trying to put so much effort into updating the game code that, like you said, has been around. Some of it's been around since like 2010. I mean,
right.
We're talking 9 years, almost a decade. Those guys.
We're talking like 9 or 10 years. I mean, because some of that code was actually done in EU3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking about some might be a decade plus old. I mean, what did EU3 come out? 2007, 8, somewhere in there. So,
yeah. I mean, those guys were using Windows XP back then, like Windows Vista.
Yeah, he actually made a mention of that. Actually, he's like, some people were like this a decade ago. We were dodging Vista. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you got, some of you guys might be a little too young to remember these things. We're definitely old enough. I mean, it took me I never did want to get out of XP. I mean, I'm the guy that like grew up. First computer was a Windows 95. Like, and Windows 95 at the time was, maybe I'm aging myself here, but Windows 95 was brand new. It's like
cutting edge. Yeah.
I mean, I was playing Doom and crap like 95 there. I mean,
dude, I was playing StarCraft on Windows 98 when I was like 7 years old. That was like that at that time was the cutting edge, and I was like, Jesus, man. Now we're talking about code that's literally almost a decade old for this game that was released in 2013, and we're still playing it in 2019. Holy shit.
I mean, a decade ago, I was still in high school. Like that's what gets me. I mean, and here I am. I'm 29 years right now. I'm 29. So that tells you right there, that's old code. That's code that, like, in my job, if they found out we had still in the system, they would wonder what the purpose of it is and can we get rid of it? Like, that's what they'd be doing. There'd be auditors poring over this, like, what is this? I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think it's that old. But I mean, you can tell that it's that old. You can tell the game has some code that old because, I mean, it's nothing about the game feels optimized to anything anymore. I mean, I don't mean to talk ill of EU4. I mean, it's got its good things and it's got its bad things. Obviously, me and Adrian, we both play this game. I mean, we're releasing episodes every day of it, I think, unless it's like special days like today. I mean, it's really...
It shows its age. And especially in this day and age, right, with how much technology that we have, right? Even 6 months in computer hardware and computer technology, phone technology. 6 months is his lifetime. We're playing a game that was released, 6 years ago. It has code from over probably a decade ago. Products cannot show their age. It is a fundamental expectation of people nowadays that things are smooth, they run fast, they run efficient. And I really appreciate that Paradox is putting so much time into trying to bring EU4 up to code, literally.
Right.
And but I kind of feel bad for him because I do feel I'm like, that kind of challenge. Holy shit! Like, I feel bad for the guy whose job it is to do that. Like,
I mean, they're getting paid their money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, they're charging people $15-20 a DLC, and a base game that's like $40, and then I don't know. I think I did the math last week. Without any kind of sale going on, you're spending $300 to get in this game all the way up. I mean, that is a huge. I mean, they're making their money though. People are paying that.
And that's one of the reasons too why I think they're putting so much effort into this is because, one, they know people still play it. They know people will still buy content for it. And two, they want to take care of the consumer. I don't think you could have number two without reason number one, but
exactly.
I have to. Really
I think we have to show it. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I'm down on them, guys, don't think that I'm totally down. I feel like, I respect the hell out of those guys because they decided to create create a product, and they didn't go out there and say, okay, we're going to release something every 3 years and just update it to the next thing. I mean, that's kind of what we've all gotten used to. You'll get if you're into the sports games, you get a brand new one every
Yep.
year, and you might get something very small in there. If
The
you're
Assassin's Creed
into,
series, right? Call of Duty,
yeah, they're working on three of those titles at one time. I mean, because they've got to have something on every Christmas.
Even the Battlefield franchise. I mean, Battlefield was appreciated like since Battlefield 4 for not releasing, a new damn Battlefield title every year. And now it's like, I don't know if they can claim that anymore.
Well, you jump in and you just remember, like, I mean, I remember playing the original Battlefield 1942 when it came out.
Dude. That was the shit.
That's 2000, 2001, 2002, somewhere in there.
I think it was 2002.
2005 we got Battlefield 2. I mean,
and that was cutting edge, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That was the cutting edge after 3 years of development. That was the cutting edge of technology.
And that thing stayed popular for 2 or 3 years. Yep. I mean, and they gave us little tastes with like Battlefield Bad Company and 1 and 2, I mean, those were, that was the days before, everybody had good internet, guys. So, I mean, some of you may not remember 10, 15 years ago. And I guess, Adrian, you'll probably laugh a little bit because my situation. Up until about 3-4 weeks ago, I was still living like I was 10, 15, 20 years ago as far as how bad my internet was.
Dial-up internet, bro.
I know, it was like dial. It was so bad. Yeah. We're talking like I got 3 download and like 1 up. I got 0.3 up. That's a third. Okay, that's not even enough to like. It would take me like 18 hours to upload one 20-minute video. Like, it was so bad. Like, I thank the Lord. I thank everybody for all this up here, that I have this wonderful phone that could like give me speeds just enough to only have like an hour and a half down upload speed. Yep. Like that was terrible. So anyways, though, I mean, we were playing that they couldn't release expansion and DLC like they do nowadays. You had to have a game that at launch was good back then, and that's, E4 is built on EU3, which that kind of had that same mentality at the time. But I don't think that code works very well with the DLC model either. I think that's why they need to do what they're doing, because eventually you're going to end up writing. I mean, part of the things that helps things get slower is you're adding in code on top of code.
Yep.
It's pretty much the pathway is getting longer. The very little bit of programming. I know the longer your code, the more inefficient it is, the longer it takes to do things. That's why like loading up EU4 can take you some time. Yep. I mean, I think I probably spend 30 to 45, maybe almost a minute in some cases loading a game,
even on an SSD,
yeah.
That's one of the things, honestly, that's one of the things that surprised me about Imperator Realm, not saying it's good or bad or giving an official review, but I will admit the game runs and looks amazing. Like, for a strategy game, that shit is ridiculous. And it just makes you, it really kind of brings center stage, like, Crusader Kings 2, Victoria 2, EU4, the way those games look and the way those games run, damn, like, it shows its age. It really puts it center stage in front of you and says, this is how this shit should run. This is how it does run, Well,
I mean, I think the biggest snafu right now is that EU4 is not multi-threaded.
Yep. It's a 32-bit. It's a 32-bit program.
Yeah, it's 32-bit. You can't really do much with 32-bit anymore. They don't even sell computers that are 32-bit anymore unless you specifically request 32-bit. I mean, I think some tablets are 32 bits. I mean, like that might be where you find your 32-bit now.
Yep.
But I mean, 32-bit used to be the standard, of course, too, like 10, 12,
and
15
exactly,
ago.
Yeah. And it's like, I understand in 2013 that 32-bit programs were still relatively supported, but it's like, dude, now we had Windows 8, we had Windows 10, 64-bit operating systems, and all the programs really kind of took the jump in like 2012, 2013 to start using, DDR4 RAM, GDDR4 and their graphics cards and stuff. And all using 64-bit applications and coding, and it's crazy to think that EU4 for the game that it is still really 32-bit. It's hampered by It's hampered by the time that it was produced in, and,
Yeah,
and I really appreciate that they're trying to change things,
and it kind of in seeing and kind of tying in EU4 to Imperator Rome, you can kind of see how the game engine can become
Yep.
by that, the difference in time, because there's a big difference there. You can go in there and say, look, I could probably put now mind you, they're not the same game, but I can show you a screenshot of EU4 in 2014, EU4 now, and then an Imperator Rome, screenshot of just provinces and guys moving on the map in the same kind of way.
You would not
You'll,
believe that they're the same engine.
yeah, you wouldn't think that. I mean, you
No
wouldn't
way.
even think that they're the same
Hmm.
games. Honestly, like between the EU4, you wouldn't think they're the same game. In the amount of difference that's there, but you can still see a difference, guys, between EU4 and Emperor Rome, not just in graphic, just in clarity, crispness, crispness, and things like that.
Yep.
You can see a big difference. And we can always snap it up to the games are different. It's really comes down to the game engine, though. That's really the difference. That's the coding in there. So, I mean, I think we've all we think we've hit this diary over and over and over. I mean, the only thing we haven't talked about though that's coming out is the crash reporter. They're
Yep.
they're redoing the crash reporter, which for a game we're talking about that has code issues, you need at this point they need that crash reporter. Whenever you have a crash in a game, you need to be able to report what caused that crash. You need it to have taken a snapshot. In order for them to get better, they have to see the problem. They have to replicate that problem. And that's what they're going, that's what they're asking people to do. So if you play EU4 and you see a crash, or any Paradox game and you see a crash and you can report it, please do. Like, absolutely do that. You are helping make the game. Like, they may not go in there and go, Adrian Gaming found this problem. We're going to call this the Adrian Gaming problem. We fix it. We're done. Introduce it in the next bug update. No, they're not going to do that, but they're going to go in there and they're going to say, hey, this could be happening to not just Adrian, but it's happening to Brantman, and it's happening to another 10,000 users, and just you're the first person to say something about it.
Yep.
You got help them, help us. Help them, help you, help us. Kind of that's the mentality we all got to get in. So. All right, we've spent an incredible amount of time on our top two target. We thought we weren't going to last but 30 minutes here, guys. So we're way.
We're trying to keep it under an hour
recorded.
for you guys. Yeah,
We're going to try to keep it under an hour. So we got another little segment right here, just because of Dev Diaries, Imperator Rome coming out. We're calling this the too early to tell future for Paradox, and this is just kind of our rundown of what we think is in the future here. And Adrian, I don't know if you want to go first. You want to let me go first on it? I mean, you're newer to me. I'll take it this way: you've been at it longer than me. I'm going to let the senior gamer go at it on this one.
Yeah. So, I mean, not that I can give a review of Imperator Realm. I can't say whether or not it's good or bad, and I can't tell you whether or not you should buy it. But I would say the game has solidified in me a sense of optimism. I would say that the people over there at Paradox, they bust their asses, and they're hiring even more staff. They're bringing on more resources. They're still making revenue. They had a quarterly and like a year-end report a couple months ago. They're really making some money. They're really bringing in some revenue, and their company is going places. Some moves I think might not be the best for them. Like, I know they're getting a lot into the console generation and the console market. I'm not sure whether or not that's the best move for Paradox. I think maybe focusing more resources on the PC might be better, but all power to them. They're trying to do more with what they have, and they're trying to be better every single year. Constant improvement in themselves and their company and their employees. And Imperator Rome, I think, is an example of their work ethic. I think I'm excited for the future of Paradox. I am sad that products like Crusader Kings 2, I think, are on their way out. I would say even like Victoria 2, by most standards, is probably dead as a game. Is probably on its way out. And it makes you wonder. When is EU4's time going to be, and when is it for Imperator Rome to take the stage? And Paradox will say, this is the shining example of our work, and we want to do even better than this. When will that moment be? I'm not sure, but I would say I'm optimistic about Paradox. I wish them all the best in what they're doing.
Right. I mean, I guess if I had to give Paradox a grade right now, I mean, if you had to give them a grade, what would you give them? You know,
Like a B
including
plus,
pluses and minuses.
like
But
a
you got
B
a B,
plus,
B plus.
like a
Okay,
B plus.
solid B plus. I'm going to go with A minus in mine. Just because we are they're listening to us. I'm going to say right now, they are listening to us, but we all have to, and keeping in mind that Paradox is not a gigantic developer. They have a lot of different moving parts. You know, there's Paradox Interactive, and then there's Paradox, the distributor out
The
there.
development studio. Yeah, so Paradox
Yeah,
Interactive is the publisher, and then BDS is the development studio, the people who made Imperator Rome.
yeah, there you go. That's we have to remember that there are two different things. So we're seeing, if I evaluate Paradox as a whole, I'm going to still say A minus, just because with Imperator they're giving us more of what we want. It's at least it seems that way. But at the same time, they're also, it feels like they're not listening to us, because in some respects, CK2 is very much on the way out. I mean, as somebody who's never played it, just watch people play it, I can even tell you that I don't think the longevity of that game is there anymore. There's no draw to it. For one, I mean, they put out some expansions, but you can tell. I think you can kind of tell a lot by Paradox in their release schedule for DLC now.
Yep.
The more DLC that comes out, the more they feel like that's a viable product.
Yep.
That can earn them money. I mean, it's just like any business. I would not support and sell something if it was not moving off the shelf.
Yep.
And we're talking about the digital shelves here of Steam and other, other, places that you can go and get these CD keys and stuff like that. They're seeing it move for EU4. They're seeing it move for Hearts of Iron 4.
Yep.
To some degree. They're seeing some in Stellaris. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Imperator Rome is probably going to is going to fly. I think that's going to be one of Paradox's best things out there, just because how new it is and how revolutionary it has become. For their studio, that is, and we really don't have any RTS games anymore out there. I mean, the RTS genre feels like it went from what in the early 2000s was, it felt like you had 5, 6, 7 titles you were looking forward to at one time, to now you're like, I really don't think there's going to be maybe 2 this year.
I mean, there used to be like the Command & Conquer franchise, it used to be StarCraft, Warcraft 3, we're talking some of the largest RTS games in history. And now, I mean, shit, I know people that still play StarCraft 2, a game that was released years ago.
I mean, I still sometimes return to Empire Earth from way back in the day. I mean, I'm telling you, the RTS genre is not what it used to be. If you've ever were into the RTS genre yourself, and I guess if you're watching us, you probably were, because that's pretty much what we do. I think, Adrian, you dabble in some first-person shooters and stuff, but I don't do that. I might do some on Twitch every so often, when I get around to it, but it's just not my thing. But at least for recording purposes, it's not my thing. It's just, I feel like Paradox has a very bright future ahead of it if it continues to listen to us. You got to remember, we are the gamers. We I hate to say it and be like, gamers unite. That's not what I'm here to do. But you understand, like, you vote for their products based off of how you vote with your wallet.
Yep.
If you give them $20 for a DLC, that's telling them that you're willing to do it. And then if you go in there and leave a review and tells them what to think, they seem to be taking that into effect. And any game studio in today's world that's not these little micro guys who are putting out mobile platform games, or guys who are putting out easy throw them out there games, I have to give them an enormous amount of respect for just listening to us and giving us kind of what we want. Yep. Imperator Rome just makes me really think they're doing that. I think, as I had spoke earlier, that 2 years ago, when they were dealing with this whole DLC monetary fallout, I mean, where they hiked up everything, like, and that's when we were talking. I mean, back then we were talking, the game was 4 or 5 years old, and they're making us pay for the base game and DLC at such a huge rate. There's no, it's just one of those things. I mean, the only thing I can say, the reason that's really drawing them down, is they're not like eventually giving you EU4 base game with extra DLC for free. I kind of feel like at this point, like, Art of War should be and rights of man should just be given to you. You buy the game for the base like $25 or whatever, and then you should be given that.
Well, and this is kind of one of the things I did have a conversation with a friend of mine once. You know, he argued, he's just like, imagine what EU4 would be if EU4, the base game, was free. You know, you could download it, you could play it. EU4, the base features is free. All the DLCs you have to pay for. You know, all the content packs, all the music packs you have to pay for. And people could customize the game how they wanted to. And I was like, you know, on one hand, that does sound interesting. Maybe it would bring in a lot more people into the community. I don't know. On the other hand, you know, it kind of comes off as this games as a service, you know, category, or I guess movement that, you know, the big AAA publishers like Ubisoft, you know, Electronic Arts, you know, Activision Blizzard are trying to push. And it's where does Paradox find themselves?
Become pay to play at that point, though. I think you've got this balance zone. Again, I love saying gray area because you really have to find it. I mean, if you give it to them free, then it becomes either A, pay to play, or they're going to go find a friend who has every DLC and they're just going to play multiplayer with their friend. I mean, you know, when you play, if you don't know, if you have somebody that has all the DLC, you can play up to their DLC level if you play multiplayer with them.
Yep.
You know, like if I've got Golden Century and Adrian doesn't, he can play Golden Century if we play multiplayer together. So it's, which I think is a really cool feature, by the way. I'm so happy that's there. Because at the same time, though, if they did go free game,
it's like, how do they make their money, right? Or even the more basic question that a lot of people ask is like, okay, if the base game is free, you have to pay to win. Where is that accountability? Right. You know, where is the incentive for the developer to work harder, to come up with more interesting content, you know, constantly improving for themselves? If, you know, hey, the base game, you know, people are going to play it and you can play with your friends and get the DLCs, and why should we work hard, you know?
I mean, it's like, what's the use of having, from a business standpoint, what's the use of having 50,000 players if I'm not making money off of half of those players? You know, it costs money to run these games, guys. It's not free. You know, they have to pay a developer, you know, they have to pay a programmer and a developer and a graphic designer. They got to pay these guys, you know, and as much as we want to get mad at capitalism for these guys got to get paid. They got to live.
Yep. So, and it's an interesting, it's a rock and a hard place, because on one hand, you know, there are plenty of people, and I respect that they have their opinion that, you know, the DLCs cost too much, right? The base game isn't worth it for the price that you have to pay. You know, people would prefer, like, for DLCs, like kind of like you said, to be rolled out over time for free, like Art of War, give it for free. You know, Conquest of Paradise came out years ago, give it for free. The newer ones you can pay for, you know. But
I mean, I think they should draw a timeline. You know, if the DLC came out prior to 2017, roll it into the base. You know, I mean, make it so you're not having to, you know, make a $300 payment to get into the game up to this point, you know, and I guarantee you will probably make more money by doing that. You know, I mean,
well, it also begs the question, you know, like I said, some people might prefer for DLCs to be rolled out for free over time. But on the other hand, when you look at it from Paradox's perspective, you know, they would say, well, what's the incentive for people to buy then? They would just wait literally forever until we release it for free. It's like, damn.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
that's true. You know, and it's, I'm not a businessman, you know, but I understand those incentives. And so it's, Paradox is stuck between a rock and a hard place, to be honest.
It is absolutely a complex question with a complex, you know, there's an complex, you know, that we have to look at. I think that's where we're at.
Yep.
So, I do
want to diverge a little bit while we're talking about, you know, what we expect for Paradox for the future. I do want to ask you about Creative Assembly and about the Total War franchise. I do want to know your thoughts on that. I know, you know, you don't cover much of like the more recent Total War games like Warhammer 2, that sort of thing. To be honest, I don't either on my channel, just because it's not exactly my thing. I prefer historical games. But at the same time, even their historical department, like they're releasing Three Kingdoms in what, a month from now? Like it's almost like, yeah, exactly a month from now. I'm not gonna lie, it hasn't tickled my fancy. You know, what are your thoughts on it?
It's sitting in my wish list, like out there. I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't care. I hate it. I mean, I'm the type of person that mind you, I've been playing. For those of you who do not know, I've been playing or record everything from start to beginning in my 6 o'clock Eastern time slot. Then now I've been playing Napoleon Total War, working my way through the expansion on that, and eventually I'll make it to the World War One mod. It's just not. I like the historical stuff, I really do. And I played some of the other ones, but it's hit or miss. I mean, I've come back to Empire 3 times. I've come or 3 or 4 times over the last 10 years, however old it is. I've come back to Napoleon like 2 or 3 times. Those were just, it's something about that time period, I think. And it seemed like they were, as a studio, they were on top of it.
Yep.
I felt like they knew what they were doing at that point. I think they went for the Warhammer stuff, thinking it'd be like, hey, that's low hanging, money, and because there's obviously it's kind of like, I'm going to reach out there and kind of like a Lego game. Hey, I can get Lego people. I can get the people who like that kind of thing, like Avengers or whatever. It's low hanging fruit, and now while the Lego, Telltale has done an amazing job with those things, we're sitting here, sitting over here looking at Creative Assembly. That was not my cup of tea, and they spent so much resources into it that I kind of feel like they forgot the original Total War player.
And that's what I think too. And there's a certain YouTuber, I don't want to mention by name, but I gotta admit, he calls out Creative Assembly on this shit. He says, the more recent Total Wars really feel less and less like Total War. They feel different than the games that were before produced, since Medieval 2, since Rome, since even Empire and Napoleon. And he calls them out on their shit. He says, for those veterans out there, like, your franchise has changed. It's not the same. And I sometimes feel that way myself. I'm like, I don't think historical Total War is really what it used to be. And I don't think it ever will be,
Well, I think it's because they had this timeline. They were running in this nice timeline. They're like, we're gonna do Rome and Alexander and medieval, and and we're gonna move on up to Shogun, and then we're gonna go to Empire, and then Napoleon, and then what's after Napoleon? Well, we could do Civil War, but wait, the tech is getting weird now. How can we model railroads? How can we model this faster movement of war? How can we do trench warfare of World War I and doing World War II? I think they realized what was ahead of them, and they were like, that's too difficult. While we think on this, let's go back and do this. Let's do some sequels to the old ones.
Yep.
And then they were like, I think they were just like, well, we just really rehashed an old game and we made money. What's something else we could do and just make money off of?
Yep.
And maybe it's just the state of the game of game developers now is you really, nobody's giving you that trust of 4 or 5 years to create a game anymore. It used to be, for those of you who do not know game history, it used to be you could put out a new game every year because it was so simple to code a game. And then it eventually is like we started demanding better graphics and better gameplay and more longer games.
Yep. Better stories
better plots. Yep. It started being like 2, 3, 4 years, and our demands bloated these game companies from a 10-man team to 200 people working on a game, on one single game, and a game company is putting 5 teams at once. I mean, it's our behavior that created the EAs of the world. I mean, and because of that, they have, they've kind of, I think they've now lost sight. Of course they want to make money. I will never ever get mad at a company for wanting to make money, but I will get mad if they don't put out a good product.
Yeah,
okay, or
absolutely.
They ruin old products in the pursuit of money.
And that's the way that I feel about it too. Is I feel like Creative Assembly, they forgot, one, what their veteran Total War players appreciated about the games, what they liked, and two is, I think Creative Assembly, when they saw how much money they can make by simplifying game mechanics, simplifying things, making it more quote streamlined, whatever the hell that means to them. They have their own definition of streamlined, and I have my own. When they realized that they can make money doing that, that's exactly what they did. Is they stopped making the historical Total Wars that, Shogun 2, I would say, is probably still one of the most amazing Total War titles probably ever made. And even Rome 2, you know, some people call it a masterpiece. Some people say it was a step away, step back in the franchise. You know, I could probably tell you, I don't think Warhammer 2, I don't even think Three Kingdoms is gonna bring it back. I really don't think so.
I think, you know, honestly, what they need to do is they need to come to us. And when I say come to us, I absolutely do mean they need to go to you, Adrian. They need to come to me. They need to go to the guy who is pretty much put them on point, you know, put them on stand, you know, up on that pedestal and said, this is your fault. You know, this is what you're doing wrong. And I think I know who you're talking about, by the way. I mean, I think they need to go to the people like us who play the games and play the old games and are getting the views to the, you know, not even, you know, I don't have mass views, but I'm just saying they need to go to these people who are still playing the older games and like, why aren't you playing the new ones? You know, hey, you know what, why don't you come do a, you know, let's do a multiplayer clash, you know, let's do a, you know, hey, we're going to give you a free copy of the game and you tell us what you think, you know, and we'll tweak or, you know, whatever. They need to do that. They need to take the advice of the community. Because let me tell you something, I can't code a game, but if I told you the game I wanted and you make the game I wanted, and I'm more than likely going to like the game, and I'm probably going to want you, I'm probably going to buy that game.
Yeah, I'll throw some money, you know?
Think about it. If somebody created the game you wanted, you're going to go buy that game.
Yep.
I can tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, they made Empire Earth 4 tomorrow. And if it was like Empire 1 or 2, I'm jumping on it. You know, I mean,
and that's precisely it though. Is Empire Earth 3?
Right. That killed it. That killed it.
They shot that shit when it was in the river, drowned.
Yeah, it was
that thing, dude.
Empire Earth 2 was a tiny step back, in my opinion, and then they went and did Empire 3. And I mean, I'm telling you right now, if Creative Assembly continues doing what they're doing, they're going to go that same path.
Yep.
What's going to probably end up happening is in this day and age, they're going to get bought by EA.
I mean, that is just the same. That might just be just as bad.
You know, in my opinion, if you get bought by EA or one of these other, you are getting. That's just like getting shot in the water. You know, in my opinion, because you lose all creative. You know,
yeah.
You lose you lose all your freedom then, because they tell you then what to do. Which I mean, I guess you know we're going to be talking about some things in just a short time. We've gone over on our first 3 topics. I will flat out admit we're so far over all this, so we'll segue out in a minute here. But you've got to. I think the biggest thing that we've got to go ahead and talk about real quick is you're giving Paradox a B+ with optimistic future. I'm going to give them an A- with that same optimism. There's a lot to come out. I think we can start looking at. You're saying end of year for the big, the changes to the code and all that. I've heard rumors, mind you, that this is not from anybody at Paradox, unless they're masquerading on Reddit and other sites, which I don't know. But that's why I'm gonna just stress this as a rumor that we could be seeing the big talked about Europe DLC patch coming up into summer.
Oh wow,
it's solely needed. It's needed really bad.
That's earlier than what I've heard. I've heard at the earliest Q3, likely Q4. They said beginning probably of Q4, which would be October.
Yeah, October.
Which
so
pretty much for all intents and purposes is kind of the end of the year. That's what I heard. That's just me.
Right. Yeah. As far as the game release year, yeah, absolutely. That's
shit. If they could get it to us by June, that'd be something. June,
well, I mean, I'm
July.
thinking summer as in like August, end of summer, August, September timeframe. So that kind of coincides with the end of Q3. I mean, that's really kind of what that is. I think it's needed. I think if they go into this and they really revolutionize what it means to play in Europe. I mean, because right now, I mean, depending on which nation you pick, there's just like this in every part of the game, but it really can make or break the game, right from the get-go. I mean, you don't see too many games where Lubeck just runs the world. You don't see that very often unless you've done something to Lubeck's people, rivals, to give it to them. Or a Brunswick or somebody else just go wild.
Or even just the little things, kind of like what they've been focusing on, game performance, quality of life improvements, that sort of thing, small modifications like that. really, you might think of them as small, but they all really add up into your enjoyment and your experience of a game, in the story that it tells and in the environment that you feel like you're in, the music or the graphics or whatever, right?
Right.
It
I
can
have
make or
to I
break a
have to
game.
agree there. I mean, think about playing a stable game versus an unstable game. If you keep
No,
getting kicked
absolutely.
out, you're gonna get mad. I would rather get mad at a stable game kicking my ass every time I play the game. As what happens to me in EU4 all the time. By the way, I'm no expert in that game, but I get my butt kicked every other game, I feel like. But at the same time, I get mad not at the game, I get mad at myself. Now, if the game is unstable and I keep
Yep.
crashing, I can get mad at the game and
Yep.
not blame myself.
Because
So
it's not your fault, it's the game's fault, and it's like,
exactly, there you go. So I
yeah.
kind of think, if we get those quality of life improvements, it's going to go a long way for a
Yep.
lot of people. So anyways, all right, so we've got to move on. We've kind of gone on quite a bit.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say,
um,
we got like 5 minutes left. We're almost at an hour.
seriously.
Yeah, we're almost at an hour. You go ahead. You can pick the last topic. You pick the last topic.
Oh no, we're going to go through these final lists. We're just going to go lightning round. All right.
All right, deal.
So yeah. So anyways, we also want to cover some diversities of gaming world and the news. So so we've heard of this thing called the Epic Games Service or Epic Games Launcher. If you haven't heard about this, it's pretty much just a game launcher similar. It's like competition to Steam, and I've heard the good side. I've heard the bad side. The good side being that it's competition to Steam, and you're going to get some games that you can't get on Steam for a little while. Like Borderlands 3, they just recently said that they're going to only release on there, and then for 6 months, that's all you can buy it from. So now, of course, the bad thing being, I've heard spyware is a problem, which I can't attest to any of this. I don't have it. I'm anti Epic Games. All right, I've already made my decision. But because I just don't play Borderlands 3 and games like that anyway. But I mean, anyways, the launcher. Kind of want to get your take real quick, Adrian, on it. What do you think? Are you going to be willing to make that jump and try it?
Oh,
Are
hell
you gonna?
no.
Oh hell no.
And I'll bring up what someone at Microsoft. I can't remember if it was Bill Gates or somebody who was like close to him. Oh no, actually, it might have been a Valve. I heard some quote somewhere, and I think it's really solidified it. And the guy said he's just like, we're better off going to where the customers are, where the consumer is, than trying to make the consumer come to me. Because at the end of the day, what this is all about is not about video games. It's not about creating, this product or making money. It's about serving people, right? And giving them experiences. And that's what this is all about. Not just the money, not just, some great story and winning a bunch of awards, Game of the Year awards and shit. And he's just like, and the idea of trying to get a consumer to come to me is just not what I'm about. I think we should go to the consumer with our video games and our experiences. And I was like, mad props to that dude. And that's the way that I feel is like, for everybody who wants to shit on Steam, the truth is I've never had problems with Steam. They refund my games if I need them to. They run well. I can always download them. I have all my games owned on there. Shit, I'm cool. I don't need another service. I just don't. It's an inconvenience.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like if you've ever played a game that like EA puts out for PC, you have to go through Origin to get it for the most part. And if you think about it, it locks it behind a wall.
Yep.
And the last thing I want to do is feel like I am locked from a game, or if other people are locked from a game behind a wall, other than just the paywall. I mean, the paywall is just it is what it is. You're not going to get away from it.
Yep.
But I don't want to sit here and be like, I got to choose Epic to get Borderlands, and I've got to play Steam to, I don't want that.
Yep.
I want all my stuff in one spot.
Yep.
Where I can easily access it. So I don't want to have to think about, I got to download Epic and then Steam and then Origin. I don't want to think that. So
and that's precisely it. It's such a small inconvenience, you would think, but it says so much about the company and what their values are, what their vision is for their consumers, for their fans.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly the most unifying vision in the world.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So keeping it moving on, we do go a little bit outside of games here. We're going to talk about two quick things that are really outside of games here. The first thing is, this is more of my topic, I guess. Game of Thrones did release for the final season this past Sunday. And if you guys are seeing, I guess this is coming out on Monday. So it actually came out a week ago. And then the second one was last night. Of course, I don't know what the second one has in it yet. I have to watch that one as it comes out. But I mean, I can go ahead and tell you, this is huge for, nerd and geek and even just normal people culture. Game of Thrones has been around for so long. We've been without it for, I think somebody was sitting there telling me it was like 500 and something days. I mean, people are counting it down like how long it's been. I mean, I can think of very few things that we've counted down like that for, or counted since, to, and I'm just telling you, this is huge. This is the summer thing. It's like watching Friends, back
True.
when Friends was coming out,
True.
which I know dating me even more. I mean, I continually date myself in this. I'm noticing, guys, I'm old. All right. No, 29 is not old. But still, it's just, it's like, it's that thing to do. It's like watching 24 for those of you who are, 12 years ago. I'm trying to bring it up to you guys.
Right,
I don't know.
You're dating yourself now, dude, when you mentioned 24.
But 24, but Friends came in like 93, dude.
Yep.
Like I didn't watch Friends when I was that young. Anyways, so
Home
Game of Thrones,
Improvement.
I think is going to be that thing. Everybody talks about it around at work the next day. I know at my work Monday morning, it was just like, did you see that? And a lot of people, if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. At the end of the season, we might give about a week or so, then I might talk a little more in depth about it. All I know is George R.R. Martin, you need to get on your shit and start actually writing these books. If this is your real vision, I don't know, but you need to get on it, buddy. Anyways, moving on. This is your next topic, Adrian, the Galaxy Fold, man. What's going on with this thing?
Yeah, man. So I've been watching. I've been watching Unbox Therapy. I've been watching MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee. Those guys are like some of my biggest, most favorite tech tubers. And yeah, all the stuff with the Galaxy Fold. So a $2,000 phone with a Galaxy Fold, the Galaxy Fold.
Whoa, wait, $2,000 phone?
I think it's $2,000. It's the MSRP is $1,980. Yeah. And so we, I've been watching these tech tubers, and they've been getting some review samples and stuff like that of the Galaxy Fold, and some of them are breaking, some of them are they're flickering after just like a day or two of use. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, the tech tubers are more, they're more into
like an expensive, timid girlfriend.
No, yeah, it's
basically.
They admit, they're like, this is cool. It's just there's some concerns about long-term durability with the Galaxy Fold, and so I thought I'd just kind of bring it up. It's kind of interesting. You guys go check out Unbox Therapy. Go check out MKBHD if you want to see more with the Galaxy Fold. It's interesting stuff. It's interesting tech, like the future of phones.
Like, I've got to admit though, I went and looked at the images. I don't know what's actually wrong with it other than what you just told me. That phone is an ungodly size. Like, I thought we were going smaller. And this is an iPhone 6. This is an iPhone this is iPhone 7, iPhone 6.
I know, I was gonna say, damn, dude. I mean, shit.
I got two. Sorry, yeah. So
this is my, this thing is
work.
This is my iPhone 8. This thing's bigger than my hand.
Working regular phone. Okay, I mean, they're getting bigger. I thought we were going smaller. I was waiting for like the little, from SNL, the little flip phones, like, hello, this is D'Angelo, or whatever. This is waiting for it, and we haven't got it. Yeah. I don't know what's up with this.
It's interesting.
Culture.
I don't know. It's like if I was to take a look at kind of a segue, we're gonna be wrapping up the show here pretty soon, guys. But just as a segue, as far as like media consumption, like for example, for like say my Let's Play channel, right? A lot of people watch on mobile. Like, a disturbing amount of people watch my videos on mobile. And I never really considered that, a foldable phone where you can like kind of, it's not as big of a tablet, but it's close, For some people, that actually might be like a pretty big deal for them to be able to consume like my videos or media or whatever on something that's smaller than a tablet, but it's bigger maybe as similarly light as a smartphone. It's really interesting. It's a really interesting proposition to actually think about. I always thought people watched on. What's up?
Oh, I think we just have to see. I mean, I was kind of thinking eventually we're going to get into projection technology here where that's not going to be a thing anymore. But that may be 5-10 years down the road too. But the tablet culture that we're in now, I think, has a lot to do with that, though, just from what I saw.
Yep.
So, anyways, keeping it going, I got to keep. Another big news from this week: Star Wars 9: The Rise of Skywalker trailer.
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
I haven't had time to see it. I saw snippets of it. I thought the title was kind of weird, The Rise of Skywalker, but I was like, all right, whatever. Yeah,
I think that's the perfect title. And if it was me, I would have done the same thing, even if I did not mean for that to be the actual title. Just because, can you imagine from now until like November or December, whenever it comes out, everybody's gonna be like, "What do they mean by the Rise of Skywalker?" You know, like
it made me think of The Dark Knight Rises. Just that title, I was like, oh shit, dude. I was like,
damn, some bridges are blowing up, man.
It's not a bad title. It's just not maybe the best, but I was like, all right, I get what they're going for. I understand. You know,
the Sith are taking over. What do you call it? Yeah. No, they're going to the Sith. They're going to take over Coruscant. They're going to blow the sky lane, the space lanes.
I was born in it.
So no, I have to admit that I thought it was perfect. I think the fanboy in me, I'm not huge. I'm not this level Star Wars like some people. I'm about right here. But I will tell you right now that The Rise of Skywalker is perfect of a title, in my opinion. Let's just go ahead and say, I can sit here and think, is it Rey? Is it Kylo? I don't know. Is it Luke we're even talking about? I don't know. And I'm hoping, you know, that this leads and, you know, as much as everybody's like, shoot these trilogies in the foot and let's, you know, they keep shooting themselves in the foot. Let's just shoot ourselves in the head and get it over with the trilogies and go into normal stuff. I kind of hope it's setting up the next three. I mean, Disney is not going to let this go, guys. They paid a lot of money. They're going to keep pushing out content, which we'll be talking more about it, especially this next part. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh God, I'll tell you.
I'm scared.
I'm scared too. I honestly just EA in general. Yeah. I'm not gonna get my hopes up, man. I'm not gonna hold my breath. I'll just be honest.
Yeah, do not get your. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now. I'm gonna go ahead and say, do not get your hopes up. Mm-hmm. This is an RPG created by EA from the guys who made. Oh my gosh, what are these people from? Respawn Entertainment is the name of it.
Now they to made be fair. They
Titanfall and stuff like that.
Titanfall 2 is an amazing first-person shooter, but it's not an RPG.
Okay, right. See, I was worried that, you know, because the guys who created Respawn, I think they did a lot of work on Call of Duty franchise.
They did. They also did that. They did. They made Apex Legends as well.
Right. You know. So I've heard a lot about this game being like it's an RPG. It's not open, but, you know, you're running through levels, kind of similar to The Force Unleashed or something. Is kind of what it's being marketed as.
Like if it was Knights of the Old Republic, okay, you've got my attention. But that's not what I've heard it's going to be like. It's not.
Now, this is where we were talking about Paradox a lot earlier and how they've listened to the fans and they've given us what we want. I think this is an aspect of EA has stabbed us in the back so many times, and now they are coming forward saying, we're giving you what you want, and people are just like, I don't know what to do with my hands now. You know, I mean, because
it's possible. Yeah.
It's possible they're doing a great thing. EA used to be a great company, guys. They used to be the people that you just went to because they had the best games. I mean, and they had a lot of great smaller people underneath them, like Tiburon and other things like that. You know, you just looked forward to their games. And now that's not the case. So let's hope, you know, they've only, let's face it, I think EA is surviving on FIFA and Madden right now. I mean, that's how they make their money. So I think, you know, we'll see how it goes. Yep. Anyways, leading on from Star Wars into more Disney, Avengers Endgame. I'm not gonna go see it, bud. I can't. Yeah. I didn't see Captain Marvel. I can't go see it.
Me and my girlfriend, we got tickets for the day of. Yeah, we're gonna go see it. We're gonna get some dinner and go see it. I saw Captain Marvel. It was fine. It wasn't, you know, mind-blowing experience. It wasn't like bad. It was I
mean, on a scale of, you know, Iron Man to the Incredible Hulk, that's it. With Iron Man being great, Incredible Hulk, in my opinion, was not.
You know, I'll tell you actually. After rewatching the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, it's not bad. Like it's not amazing. It's just not bad. You know? I would say it's like, you know, what's one of the fine Marvel movies? Like I heard Thor Ragnarok is just like fine.
I mean, Thor Ragnarok confused the hell out of me.
That's what I heard from a lot of people too. Like, they're like, you know, it's fine. It's not like amazing. It's just fine. You know,
like I was entertained for long enough. You know,
yeah. I guess people shit on Iron Man 2.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's fine.
It's not like amazing. It's not Iron Man, but it's not like Incredible Hulk. It's just fine. It's a fine movie. You know?
Like, I think, and that's because we're comparing to Iron Man 1, which started the whole thing. And that was just amazing from start to finish, and then kind of like an Iron Man 3, which is less than what we hoped.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then Iron Man 2 was just like,
yeah. I mean,
it's just kind of,
and see, I'm the worst person to go to these movies with because I geek out like crazy and blow it out of proportion. I think it's the best movie I ever saw. And then 2 days later, I'm like, why did I even go?
You're like, now really thinking about it, I'm like, damn, that movie sucked.
I know, right? Like this is such a crappy way about going about it. But
I don't know. I'm excited for Endgame. At the same time, it's like, after Captain Marvel, I'm hoping it's better than that, maybe. But
I mean, I watched Infinity War again Saturday, and
I probably should.
I watched Infinity War. It just rewatched it. It looked. I mean, I just got to know what happens. That's all I care about at this point. What happens and how does Iron Man save the day? That's all I care about now. Because let's face it, that's how it's going to happen. Anyways, going on. This is probably what I'm most excited about in our little Disney thing, though. Disney Plus.
Yep.
I'm so excited about this. I think out of everything being released in November and December of this year, I'm more excited about Disney Plus than anything else.
I gotta admit,
that includes all video games, all movies, everything. This is my year.
I was skeptical of it. I'll admit. I mean, it sounds like they're just trying to rip off Netflix and kind of take Netflix's market share and be its own thing. But honestly, it's like, all right, competition. I can't say it's bad. I can't say it's bad. It does serve a role. And my girlfriend personally wants to get Disney Plus, and I was like, all right, like, I would probably watch some stuff on it. Like they're bringing back the old school like Disney Channel series, like Lizzie McGuire and shit, like Cadet Kelly and shit. And I was like, dude, that shit was my childhood right there. So I'd probably watch it. I'd probably be open to
it. For $7 a month, I'll give them. I mean, it's worth way more than $7 a month. I'm good at pricing things.
I'd probably be willing to pay like maybe $10.
I'd be willing to pay 10. I'd be willing to pay what I pay Netflix right now, which is like 12, I think.
Which is fucking crazy, right? It's now thinking about it, you're like, dude, Netflix, like for what you get, don't get me wrong, it's cool, but god damn, it's kind of expensive.
They're gonna have to go down. Once they lose this Disney contract stuff, they're gonna lose all the Disney movies, all the Pixar movies, all the Marvel movies, and all the Star Wars. That's most of their big budget stuff. I mean, you're gonna still have some of your series and stuff, but
and the independent films and all that sort of thing. But it's like, dude, like a lot of people go to Netflix for just Marvel, for just Star Wars, all that sort of stuff.
I mean, I'm just picking out, like, this is just some of the things that are going to be available at launch. Okay, like this is just for those of you who are uninitiated. They just announced this 3 days ago. I mean, we're talking about old movies like 101 Dalmatians. I mean, A Bug's Life is going to be on there.
Dude, this is awesome.
The Goofy movies. I mean, looks like Cars is going to be on there. Some of the old ones like Hercules, Iron Man's going to be on there, of course. Let's see, just kind of running down the list, just things that are popping out. Monsters University, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise seems like it's going to make its way there.
That's all by Disney. I forgot about that.
yeah. You forget what Disney owns. They own everything. So, remember the Titans, man.
I was a little skeptical of it. I think for what it's worth now, I'd be like, okay, I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm not satisfied 100%. Like, oh, Disney, you're a fucking superhero. But it's like, okay, I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to test it.
Right. I mean, I think about it this way, because these next movies I'm about to list out on it are in shows. I mean, like here, I'll just list them out. Rogue One, Star Wars episodes 1 through 7 will be there at launch.
I will rewatch those bitches.
8 and 9 coming out. You think of, they've got television series that are going to be around Star Wars, like The Mandalorian, Star Wars Rebels. Remember the old Clone Wars TV show?
From like 2004? That shit was the shit, dude.
No, not 2004. No, not the 2003 cartoon version.
Oh, you're talking about
the 3D ones created for like Cartoon Network or Nick or somebody. Cartoon Network it was. And then it rolled over in 2007, 2008.
Yes, that one. Yeah, but I watched both of them, so I'm cool with either one. If you want to give me all of them, I'll take it.
Well, see, I think all of that's going to be on there from the looks of this here. And I'm telling you right now, man, I just looking over this list, that's probably about $250 worth of content. Like if you went and bought the DVDs. So if I go back and do the math there, 250, I mean, that's like, it's pretty much like 3.5 years of, a seven, you pay for the service for 3.5 years at $7 a month.
Yep.
And that you would have met, you are saving that much money just to watch these things. All you have to do is have an internet connection and pay your $7 a month. I can't. I mean, they're even got like Kim Possible and stuff, man. I'm going straight up 2004 Disney here.
Old school, dude.
Malcolm in the Middle, Boy Meets World. I mean,
I didn't even know Disney owned
Seven DuckTales, man.
That's
like, I'm so over the moon about this. This is gonna be the roughest, 6 months. It's gonna be the worst year ever. Just waiting on this to get here, and that tells you so much about where I'm at in life, that I'm living off of waiting on Disney Plus to get here. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. Obviously, I cannot wait for it. My opinion, it can't get here soon enough. You're saying you're getting it for your girlfriend, but I have a feeling you're going to be watching it more than you
I'll
think,
give it a shot. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I knew you would. Who can say no to all that?
Shit. Once you throw that Cadet Kelly at me with Elizabeth McGuire shit, the Hillary Duff, I'll watch it. I'll watch.
Are you pulling out some old crushes from back when you were young?
Dude, I'm telling you right now, dude. I watched Cadet Kelly as a kid. I rewatched that movie so fucking much. Or dude, even Stevens. That was one of my favorite shows ever, dude. That was Shia LaBeouf, fucking dude. That was bro, it was that, dude.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you gotta admit they've got some great stuff on here. Stuff that if you remember the old ABC Freeform now, but there's a lot of this stuff shows up on there, and you're just you would stop. I remember just stopping through oh yeah, that's on. I'll watch the next commercial, and
oh shit, hey,
no
Mom,
commercials.
Back up, Yeah.
No commercials. I mean, Toy Story stuff's going to be on there. I mean, even the new 4 is going to eventually make its way there. I can't get enough of it. I want it now.
Yep.
Disney, I'm calling you out. I need an early preview copy. Disney Plus. If somebody knows people at Disney, can they make that happen?
I got a friend of mine that's going to intern for Pixar.
Hey, I need your friend to hook me up with early Toy Story 4 then. How about that? So anyways, that's what I had on my list, dude. Was there anything else that we need to talk about? I know we've kind of gone over time.
No, I think that's all I had. Yeah, we talked about some good stuff. We had some good points. Yeah,
I know. I think we spent so much time on Paradox stuff. I think that's where our bread and butter is, though. That's where it's at.
I think so.
So I guess guys, this is something we want to do. This channel, this kind of eat, sleep, game, repeat. This is something we want to do every week. This is something that we want to share with you guys our thoughts on what's going on. As you guys all know, me and Adrian talk all the time. We work together on things all the time. We're bouncing ideas. So this is kind of stuff that you're kind of getting. You're kind of getting into our heads with this, because this is kind of what we do all the time, minus the amount of Disney that you heard. This is just kind of what's going on in our heads all the time. We're asking each other questions, just getting advice, and this is just what you get. So I don't know, man. I'm really excited. I think this is fun. I'm looking forward to next week already. I have no clue what we're going to talk about, but I mean,
we'll find out. Yeah,
we'll find out. There's a whole week in front of us. So,
all right, guys, thank you for watching the first episode of Eat, Sleep, Game, Repeat, a podcast/show. And be sure to subscribe, and comment down below on both my channel as well as Brandman19's. And please follow on Twitch. We'll be live streaming these every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And then we'll throw it on YouTube for all you guys at home who don't have time to join the live stream for us. And I hope you guys have had fun. The long form discussion. It's a little different than what we usually do, but I'm hoping you guys had fun. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, we went over. I think we want to try to keep it about an hour. Yep. Of course, what's our time on this?
Right now, I'm at an hour 18.
Hour 18. See, this was the special grand opening. This is brand new. There was more to this one. But of course, guys, this, like I said, this is what we just do all the time. So you guys are going to hear all this insider stuff. Now, once the embargo and the review fully lifts, I guess we're going to really jump into, Imperator Rome, especially as I get more time in it. So Adrian does too. So, all right, guys, I can't wait for next week. I'm going to go ahead and just give you all my traditional. Don't be afraid to like, subscribe, and comment. Check out our Discords, both mine and Adrian's. I think we'll both have our links in the descriptions below. And we'll see you guys next time. Make sure to, if you guys would like to ask us questions, like us to cover something next week, be sure to comment below. Let us know. Go to our Discords. Just kind of say, hey, y'all need to.
Discord's
go to Discord. Let me tell you, that is the best place to talk to me. comments, I get to them when I can. Discord, I get to it just like immediately. So
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yep.
At Brantmanwood9, I'm there. Okay. No, so definitely I suggest you all go to Discords and ask us these questions. We will take them all into account, and then we will be answering those next time. So, all right, guys, I'm ready to go ahead and call it. Adrian, let's go ahead and end this thing out.
All right. We'll see you later, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Later.